What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the series of Sparrow potentially putting himself through hell for entertainment. Now, I really just enjoyed challenging myself in the last one, so I said, fuck it, I'm doing what I want. So, here we are at challenge number 2. And this time I included the wheel spin footage, minus 1 due to YouTube being a sensitive bitch. However, I assure you that I have no reason to lie and could draw anything that specific wheel landed on, so there you go. By the way, I also fixed the screen size this time, seeing I wasn't aware of the render on the last one being wrong until, well, after. So the video should be the right screen size this time. This was by far a much harder challenge, and I nearly ended up making a massive mistake in the process. But luckily, I managed to save myself a potential reset before I got too deep into the art process. Now, I'll stop yapping and let y'all move on. Enjoy the video, and onto the wheel spins! Alright, let's do the spin for the hair color. Hopefully, it's nothing hard, so let's go. Spinning. Okay, blonde hair, that's not too bad. So, that's not impossible. Okay, off to a great start. Alright, now the eye color. Hopefully it contrasts well with blonde. Please be good. Turkish blue. Now that is definitely different. We are definitely going to have to put that in a document or something because I will not remember that. Because what the hell is Turkish blue? So the only positive I get out of the eye color is that blonde and blue are perfect together. So now we're just going to use a color generator because it's too hard to just decipher all the others. And we're just going to go for it. So this will be the skin color. Please be good. Please be good. My choice. Well, alrighty then. Well, that's probably going to be an easy one for me, Jack. Alright, next up is the body shape. And just to be absolutely clear, guys, we're only doing females because I'm best at drawing females, not really good at males. So we're just gonna go with what I can draw, okay? All right, so this will be the body type or body shape. Please be easy on me. Hourglass again. Okay then. Well, that's definitely going to be interesting, guys. All right, had to switch devices because the one didn't want to behave, so here's hairstyle. We're going to be doing a hairstyle now. Okay, what do we got? Basically the Twilight Sparkle look. Perfect. Alright, that is definitely doable. So we will do that. So this next instance, I don't really dare show on YouTube because we need to figure out how big of a chest she's going to have. But I assure you, the result was something known as AAA size, which I think is exactly what I had in the original one that I did. So yeah, definitely manageable. Okay, next we have the species type, which is going to be I do not know why, but my phone is being a butt, but I saw it land on halfling. So this is pretty much something similar to like Ganyu or Kitsune or something like that. So I think, yes, this is definitely doable. All right, now we're on to the hair length, which there's really not many choices here, so let's just get it. Short hair. Okay, I can definitely do that. This is actually going to be a really interesting piece. Now, I may be cursing myself here, but the next thing is the theme, which how this one works is we're going to select 3 random words. We're just going to generate 3 random words. And somehow, some way, we have to make it work. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but we shall see what we get. All right, let's see what the first word is. Simplicity. That kind of goes well with the whole halfling theme. Like we could do like a mythical creature with like sacred background or something like that. Okay, so that fits together. I do not know what the hell that is in the background, so just ignore that. And principle. I actually don't know which kind of principle that is. I don't know if that's actually like the school principle or if that is another kind of principle. I don't know, guys. We shall see how this comes together, because I'm not gonna lie, 2 of the terms make sense, but the principle doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know, guys. We shall see, and I will be back to you when I start the drawing. Alright, we are now in Google Docs, and we are going to basically brainstorm like things that can connect and intertwine that will make this like come together. And I already do have some ideas in my head on what I can do to make it make sense. So as you can see, I have listed all of these things in a Google document, and immediately the thing that I thought of with simplicity is basically simple-minded girl, or like having a simple nature to them, like on their clothes or something, like just a simple t-shirt, a simple skirt, simple pants. So essentially we can go something like simple, maybe if my PC would be nice to me, simple clothing. We can go simple with a simple mind, a simple personality. That's me in a nutshell. I apologize. Simple personality. She could have a simple like expression on her face. Simple expression. Which what I mean by that is it's just a simple like little nod or smile, like just something simplistic and easy to understand. So there's 3 things right there that can work right with it perfectly. Now we need to get to the whole sacred thing, which I apologize for the fact that for some reason things got messed up in the audio or something. I'm not sure what happened, but sacred is the next thing, and immediately what I think is, okay, sacred beast, like sacred beast, because halfling. So we can do like a sacred beast, like say a dragon, a wolf, we could do a kitsune, we could do a lot of things. So right there, that could even break it down. Or we could have her doing something in relation to sacred, like doing something in relation to sacred action, like praying or something along those lines. I'm not really sure. Or we could have her in like sacred like clothing or like attire. Sacred attire. So like a sacred, what's the word I'm looking for? Sacred like amulet, or like a necklace. A sacred amulet. Like a necklace. We could even have things, if I can spell, or we could even have something like a tattoo. You know, there's just a few little simple ideas, but now we get to the next part, which is principle. Now, I learned this is not what I thought it was, the school principle kind of principle. No, this is based off like the principles of something. So this is where I am going to struggle, because I not only have to look up what principle means again, because the principles of things, like that's not technical, like that's not usually a word that I tend to use much. So The meaning of principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of a belief or behavior for a chain of reasoning. So, it's basically the groundwork of a certain, like, religion or like a certain something. I apologize, my stomach is making noise. But anyways, so this is where it's really going to come off of what she looks like or what she's doing. This is where I'm getting real, like, religious vibes. Or not like religious vibes, but, you know, like she's part of some kind of... She's part of, like, some kind of, like, cult, religion, something along those lines. Or maybe she's reading a book that's sacred, or, like, you know, something along those lines. Or maybe she's just very loyal and understands the principles of things, like she can be loyal. She can be a loyal, like, person. She can be loyal. She can be, like, reading a book that implies, you know, understanding the principles of a certain subject. Reading a book about understanding the principles of something. Like, these are just little tiny things that can really play into just, like, breaking down that whole understand. Because I'm not going to add a second person into the thing. I'm just going to somehow connect all of these things. But principle is the one that really, really has me stuck. Because it's really a tricky term. But that's the point of a challenge, right? But these are just some simple ideas, no pun intended, that I think can work. And the rest is honestly just down to everything else that we do, which is the art process. And I think I have some clues, some ideas of what I'm gonna do. Like, immediately, I just think I'm going to, like, go tribal or something like that, because it really fits her. It really fits the whole principle idea much better. But I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm not thinking straight. You know, these are just things that really are one big whole cluster of the entire equation. So I don't know. But this is just a few little brainstorming ideas that I have. And now it's just down to drawing it. And do not worry, I've already put in the idea to make the drawing much bigger. I didn't realize that the screen size would be much, much smaller if I put it on the size that I put it on. So I am going to change that around, and I will see you all in the drawing process. After considering my options and coming to a conclusion on something within my skills, I decided to go for the schoolgirl theme, and to give her a clear indication that she's something like a student council president, I drew her carrying lots of books, because bookworm equals nerd, right? From there, I crafted her body into something more real and curvy, then started on her main facial features. Here is where the difficulty started to happen, the problem mainly being her head not looking right and nearly driving me mad. I tried several tactics to fix it, but ultimately I left it to focus on drawing her clothes to avoid stressing myself out. The clothes were a bit troublesome, but nothing I couldn't handle, seeing I've drawn much harder and kept it to a simple t-shirt and skirt to accomplish the simplicity factor of the challenge that was required. After the clothes were done, I added some additional trinkets, including the crucifix to checkmark the sacred thing, then drew the background. The hallway felt the most poetic and was relatively easy, so I went with it, then added little star pins to her hair and skirt to imply that she's a star student of her school. I also managed to fix her head after finally seeing the issue. Turns out I accidentally drew her chest features too low. In my defense, this is actually an easy mistake to make, so I'm definitely not the first. Anyway, I fixed that by moving her things into proper position, and to finish off the rough sketch, added a tie to further push that she's a student of a higher rank in her school. After that, I followed by taking a good break to recover from the hell that was her head. After checking her anatomy structure being accurate, I moved on to the next step of creating the outline. If I could give this challenge one word to describe it, that word would easily be detailed, because this piece had lots of it. From the books in her hands to every line that made up her clothing, this star student was a lot to trace over. But luckily this process didn't bring up any unnoticed issues besides me thinking that her hips were too low at one point. After that came the process of turning her into a believable creature on a canvas, coloring and shading. This is where things got difficult again, seeing colors are a key aspect to an art piece's success, so I had to make every color work. I actually got very lucky with the hair and eye color and really was spared a lot of trouble in the long run. The rest of the colors were free reign, and I simply did lots of experimenting with the color wheel to get the proper ones for the clothes. Green was an immediate safe color, seeing I've drawn plenty of blonde-haired elves and know that blonde resonates very well with green, so I went with that. Shading was shading, and probably my least favorite part of drawing, seeing it's a lot of work, but adds great effect for a great result. I used 3 colors for shading to make it more realistic than just a black shadow. A darker shade of the base color, a lighter shade of the one I used before to give a skin tone to the shadow, and lastly, a small bit of a reddish orange to give the flesh a peachy tone. After shading is highlights, and this took only 5 minutes given there's little skin for the light to reflect on, but it gives a more real look to the skin and really brings the character to life. With the skin more realistic now, next was adding realism to the hair, which is just a shadow where one would be cast and a highlight to the edges of the strands. After that is basically the same process with the clothes and background. The background was easily much more tricky given I usually use things like the sun or a lamp for a light source. This was harder because the light source is above her and constant, so I had to think back to my days walking in the school hallway, and even made the colors the same as my old high school's floor and lockers. Quite a nostalgic trip given I love that school. Now at the end, I gave her some additional details like sweat and loose hair strands to build on her stress factor, and lastly, added text to give her more life. With the signing of my signature and one last look over to be sure, after many hours of trial and error, a dinner break, and even having moral support in the background, I finally completed the challenge of drawing the star student and halfling girl in need of help carrying her books.
Oh my god.
Or so I thought. When I got up the following morning, I looked over the piece again and saw the glaring issue that her legs were anatomically incorrect. And that meant I had to fix it. Alright, it wasn't that bad. It was just slightly irritating, but fixable. And the solution was simple: make her shorter. Therefore, I did just that by using the lasso tool to grab her entire upper body from below her skirt and pulled her down just a little. However, as you can probably see, not everything was pulled with her, and those are just separate layers that need to be repositioned. So, I found the layers, grabbed what needed to be grabbed, and moved them into place. All I had to do now was redraw and color some things, but that was no issue. As I said before, the background was simple, so redrawing a lock and coloring in some gaps was far easier than, say, her head. Once everything was colored back in and I made absolutely sure she was no longer anatomically incorrect, I finished the challenge for real this time. By far, this challenge was much more harder and really took a lot of effort and thought process to accomplish. But I did it, and I'm happy with the result of this insane challenge. If I could say anything negative, I honestly would have to say that the whole halfling aspect may have been half accomplished. But in my defense, it is really impossible to make a modernized schoolgirl with pointed ears not look like an elf. These creatures literally are hobbits with pointed ears. And what happens when you give an anime girl pointed ears? An elf girl is born. So there you go. Other than that, I'd say this was a success, and I cannot wait to do it again. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this madness. The next episode will be out next week, but I hope to get something else out before then. Stay tuned and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Until next time, happy horrors and take care, everyone.